which is think big, start small. So if you think about two ends of the spectrum when you're engaging in some project, one is that you have to get everything exactly right. Dot all the I's, cross all the T's, and that's probably how most of us did business a while back. Before you could get an investment in a project, you had to have everything laid out. Well, in today, with technology change, with the change in our consumer marketplace, that's not possible. And then you also see the other end where people run off to do something, but they may not know exactly where they're headed at the end of the day. So, I like to travel, and I don't need to know every stop along the way, but I do want to know, am I going north? Am I going south? What direction am I headed? And I think, it's really important that you begin by knowing your ultimate destination, the goal. And it can be adjusted along the way. A lot of the development we're doing on the technology side is agile development. You don't have everything figured out. You have to figure it out step by step and go along the way. But you've got to find that balance. And if you think about it, think about the naysayers who kill ideas. Think about the naysayers in the political world. Think about the naysayers in your business. They'll often say, we can't do that because it's not perfect. We can't do that because it's not fully developed, and that can stop all progress and all development. So you really want to start with something. We have a lot of examples in our business where we started saying we need to keep to our core, and that's great, but we learned something along the way and launched a new business out of it, and then we learned that core. The second idea I want to talk about is something that, the people I work with are so sick of me saying this, so I'm going to have T-shirts made, I think, with the question, so what, then what, now what? So the so what is, who cares? Who is this idea relevant to? And if you stop doing something, who's going to care? Will anyone notice if you stop doing something? So always make sure that you're thinking about your target audience, and the so what is that relevant idea and to whom. Then what is the really important question, because it has to be asked again and again and again. The then what isn't, I'm going to get somebody to read my social media. The then what isn't going to get somebody to your website. The then what isn't going to get somebody to open something. The then what is carried all the way through to what's the decision? What do we want people to do? What change in behavior are we trying to affect? And what are we trying to do at the end of the day? So I think the most common thing I see in plans, and a lot of young people haven't learned the difference between an objective, a strategy, and a tactic. That may sound like mumbo jumbo sometimes to somebody starting out, but it's really important, because if you start and end with the tactic, you're just going to meander all over the place doing things, but not ultimately getting to your destination. It's really important that you really start with that prescription for success instead of mediocrity with tactics. And if you think about that, you really have to start and say, I got to do some research, I've got to understand, and one exercise you might try is write a headline for that objective. So say, at the end of the day, if I have a story, a great story in the business record, or if I'm on the front page of something, what did the headline say? And that might help you think about, what are you trying to achieve at the end of the day, what's really important. The third thing I wanted to talk about is know your business. Now that sounds really basic, and it is really basic, doing research, but I wanted to ask you to consider that in the charitable world. Because a lot of times what we do is we know our business in our business, but when we volunteer, when we get involved in a community activity, we don't really think about knowing that end target. What's important to them? What are they passionate about? What is it that they will find as a win? So if you're selling a sponsorship, in retail, to Randy or to Come and Go, it might not be business entertainment. It might be, how do I get people into my stores? So you really have to think about, and being on the receiving end of asks, a lot of times people come in and say, would you be a good corporate citizen? And that's, of course, important. But it's a lot more sustainable if you think about that target audience and think about what's a win to them at the end of the day. And then they want to get involved in the project and the activity. And then the last thing I'm just going to mention is the see something, say something. If you ever go in and say, well, I assumed people know, then you haven't spoken up. So if you see something and you're not sure people know about it, you're not sure that people through your organization know about it, if you ever come in at the end of the day and say, I assumed, then you didn't say something and you should have. Thanks.